Good morning, everyone. My name is Kimberlie Wright. Thanks again for joining Hand-Built Pottery and Sculpture. So today we're going to be creating something beautiful, honoring, I guess I would say just love. If you want to say it's for this month, Valentine's, uh, I guess that is true too. If you want to incorporate something to go along with the piece to make it about Black history and love, you can. It's up to you. Also, the piece that I'm making today, I want you to be creative to either make it be something else. For example, I'm going to be making like a wall, not wall, sorry, a hanger that hangs from the ceiling, like a chime, all so to speak. If you want to make um, a charm, like a necklace charm with the piece, you can, to be creative. You can make a brooch with the piece to be creative. It's your choice. Or even come up with some other idea to have the piece be functional, although we're making the same piece. So the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is get my apron to cover my clothes because of the clay and the dust and everything. And then I'm going to get my clay. So hopefully if you're making it out here today with me, all you need is a small piece of clay. I'm just breaking some of the clay off because I only want like a small piece, so to speak. That will fit in the sides, that fit in the palm of my hand. So this clay is like really rough looking, but it fits in the palm of my hand. And what I'm going to do is first to what we're going to make. I guess I would call it a clay stone heart with a key. So it's going to be three-dimensional. If you want to go ahead and shape or form a three-dimensional heart with your clay, you can, or if you want to see the steps, step by step, how I plan to execute it, then you're more than welcome. So the first thing I'm going to do, although you know if your clay is pretty moist to the hand, you don't need to really add any water, but since I've already been mashing it back and forth, I'm going to go ahead and spray a little water just to reconstitute it, and then I'm going to roll a coil, maybe like a thick coil, because all I'm going to do is just use that to measure and separate my clay. All right. Continue to constitute the clay. Then I'm going to move this rolling pin and the canvas out of the way, because when you roll clay on canvas, it generally tends to dry out. All right, so I have my clay, and I'm going to keep this sort on the thick side, but go ahead and roll out a coil, a thick, fat coil. And I want it to be pretty even so I can measure out my parts of the heart. Keeping the ends solid as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect, but somewhat pretty even. All right, so I have my coil rolled. It's a little bit thick on this side, so I'm going to roll it down just a bit. All right, now I'm going to grab my needle tool, pro tool, and my fan tool, or my feathered texture tool. I'm going to cut this piece in thirds, but I'm not gonna cut it first. I'm just gonna draw the line, sort of eyeballing it or measuring it like so. And it doesn't have to be even now because we can even it out once we cut it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut through that gently. And then I'm gonna line the pieces up to see if they match. And if not, I will cut the excess off. I'd rather use that end. So I'm lining them up on the left side, and whatever is not even on the right side, I'm going to shape it and cut it straight. So that's just some extra excess that we don't need. All right, for the 3 parts of the heart, I'm going to close my canvas once again, because I'm ready to build the 3-dimensional heart. So for my first piece, I'm just going to kind of open it up, add some water, and roll a ball. All right, doesn't have to be all the way smooth because we're going to smooth more later in the later stages. So that's pretty much a good ball. I'm going to do the same thing to another piece of the 3 parts, reconstituting it with a little moisture, water. Since we've been handling it already, go ahead and roll a ball with that piece. Continue to press and just roll in the palms of your hands, not pressing too hard, but gently and firmly until you feel the clay turn into a ball. And then I just sort of measure the 2. They look about the same. And with this piece, I'm going to reconstitute it with water, moisture, give it some moisture, soften it up a bit. And now what I'm going to do is, with my hands, I'm going to create a triangle. So I'm going to sort of beat the clay on the table to get a flat surface on one side, and then I'm going to hold the other part in my hand until I get a tip or a point, and continue to sort of pound or beat the clay on the table to get a tip in all 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna smash it out a little bit wider. Okay, and so this is what I have. It's not perfect, but it's pretty much a pyramid shape or triangle, 3-dimensional. All right, so what we're gonna do now is put the 3 parts together. That's gonna make the heart. By using, I'm just gonna stick those together just like that, spray one time. And what I would like to do is start from the bottom. This is my top, so I'm gonna flip that over. The reason why I wanna start from the bottom is because that's the base, to put that part together first. And then when I flip it over, I'll be just smoothing the top side last, so I don't have to flip it back over. And on the back side, putting blemishes or messing up the front side. So I have my feather fan tool, and what I'm doing is scraping the clay downward the same level as the triangle, because the hearts, the balls of the heart, those 2 spheres, they are too high. And I'm going to also scrape those 2 pieces together down the seam and bringing the sides down just a bit, but not too far, so as to not be able to see what I'm doing from the top side. I'm leveling all that out because it's time for me to get ready to smooth that portion. Leveling it out just with my fan tool because that will help me get most of the work done and I don't have to smooth so much. Just scrape across until you feel like it's level. And now I'm going to take a spatula or something flat, gently spray, and I'm going to smooth that side out with the spatula first, and then I'm going to come back in with my hands or fingers and hands. All right, don't be too critical or hard on yourself. Just keep going and have fun. All right, so now I'm going to smooth a bit. Continue to rub side to side, back and forth. Sometimes I say if you have vertical lines, go the opposite way horizontal. If you have some horizontal lines, go the opposite way vertically. And then sometimes you can go into a circular motion, creating a bit of slurry or slip. And I think I'm going to use my sponge. I'm dipping it in this cup of water just to get it really, really saturated with water. And I'm squeezing the sponge all the way out because I just want to smooth, not to really get so much moisture on the heart. And this is the back side. It's flat. Now I'm going to turn that over. You can see what the front side looks like. Then we're going to put that all together. So in the center of this piece, I was going to say it's like a little opening. You can either just scrape right over it to leave some air pocket, or you can push the clay down again just until everything levels out right in that area. Start out pushing it right in that area. Yes. And so I'm bringing the spheres or the balls towards the triangle because again they were higher, the level of them were higher, so I want to bring it to the level of the height of the triangle. And then I'm coming down with the side from the that I omitted from not being able to see it when I was smoothing the back. Come around to the other side, scrape or score with the tool until you level it out, doing the same to the side. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just kind of hit this on the side to sort of straighten it out, and this side as well. You can shape anything that needs to be better with your hands. And now I'm going to spray and smooth. Make sure you keep your tools clean because especially when you're smoothing, if you have clay on the tool, you're going to get that same impression of whatever is on there. So just make sure to keep that clean and scrape or press gently so you get a smooth surface. And now I want to start shaping and smoothing with my finger how I think my heart should look. Smoothing it out, adding water where needed, but not too much water to make it too soft or mushy. You should be able to feel when you need water. I think I want my sides more rounded out than chiseled. And I'm giving it a little pressure just to make sure everything is tight. I'm going to smooth with that sponge on that side because I'm pretty happy with that side, except for I want to go down the side with this tool, making sure all of that is leveled. All right, now I'm going in on the other side. Smoothing with the same technique, feeling the curves, the edges, all your curves and edges. I'm sounding like John Legend's song. All right. Smoothing. Now, of course, all of our hearts will not be the same. I mean, not literally speaking, but each heart, all hearts have different, there are different sizes and shapes of hearts. So be creative as to what you are trying to convey. Once again, I'm cleaning my spatula tool off and I'm going to scrape the bottom across the edge just to get it leveled and smooth. And then I'm going to dry it up with my sponge all the way around. And now I'm going to go to the tip, or the inner portion of the heart where the two humps lie together. I'm going to take my needle tool and just make a little line or a dip there so I can make it more prominent or dominant. Yeah, prominent. So I'm just scraping outward to the right from the inner portion of where the crease is in the heart. And then I'm scraping out to the left where the other side is. And going around the top edge of the hearts, of the round parts of the heart. Scraping it off because it's messing up my smoothness on the piece. And now I can't hardly get my sponge in between that all the way. So what I'm going to do is spray, and I have a cup of water with a brush. What I'm going to do is just brush that smooth. Sometimes when you can't get in certain areas with your fingers, you can use a brush. If I needed to, I could use a smaller brush. So, all right, that's done. We're going to dry this up with the sponge from all that water from the brush, going all the way around it. All right. So now I'm just going to show you that heart, and we're going to move to the next part of this project. I'm going to move that to the side, which is making the key. Okay, so you want some of that other clay that you had left over. And you're only going to need a small amount to make a key. I keep seeing some blemishes or something on my heart, and I want to correct, so to speak. All right, so I'm just pressing it just to see how the moisture feels. It feels really wet. I don't have to add anything. I'm just going to roll this clay out, not too thin, but not too thin that it'll break, but it needs to be thin to resemble or mimic a key. And you have to have the key in the proportion of really being realistic to fit inside of the actual heart. Doesn't really have to fit, but you don't want it to look like it doesn't fit, like too large. I think this is a good thickness for a key. And I'm just going to lie that down.
Kim, I'm not really understanding what you're calling a key or Q, or what are you calling it?
K-E-Y, like a key for a door.
Oh, okay. All right.
What it is, I'm making a heart, and it's like I'm giving someone the key to my heart.
Right.
Okay. So I think I just want to draw. Remember, as far as your key, you can draw any type of creative design out. Doesn't have to be the same thing I'm doing, but I think I'm just gonna create a little heart so that my love could be reminded that this is the key to my heart, because they don't have the heart, they have the key. And I first am drawing like a little heart, and I'm just gonna, even if you have to look at a key, feel free, but I'm gonna produce a key at the bottom of that heart by tracing it out. Just like I went to get a set of keys. A key is usually, sometimes keys have grooves on both sides, but it still comes down straight in the beginning. Or you might have a key with one side straight with grooves on the other side. So I'm gonna make my key straight on one side, the left side, and I'm gonna come down straight on the right side. At the bottom, I'm coming down like an arrow, and then I'm gonna start to make some shapes. And so before I cut it out, this is what my key looks like. All right, so cut that out. Don't forget that I said this is gonna be a piece that hangs, but you can make a paperweight, some kind of way. If you make it flatter, you can make a brooch, a necklace charm, earrings, you know, be creative. All right, so I'm cutting the tip, which is like an arrow, and the shapes, cutting as straight as possible. All right, that's done. When this leathers more, I'm going to brush it around the sides just to make it more smoother and crisp, but right now it's a little soft, so I just want to sit it to the side to let it start to leather without, you know, but still straighten it out so it can start to leather straight and not with curves. All right, so I'm going back in for my heart. And this is like a real, the part now that you can leave your heart smooth, or you can put some type of design on it. You can use something like this. It's something that I just found at a thrift store or a Goodwill, and it can apply to any type of design. You can roll something into it. It's up to you. You can create a design with tools, you know, all sorts of things. If you have some type of design plate, feel free to use that as well. So what I'm going, if you want to design, you have to do the design first, because once you cut into the heart for your hole, that's you want that to be the last step that you make. So right now I'm going to use this tool and stipple. I'm going to bring the camera a little closer. Stipple or press it into the heart until I get the design from here. Going on the sides as much as I can. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to use this piece to press another design. So I don't want to press my shape or change the shape of my heart. It will, although it's going to change a little bit, you want to press lightly and gently until you see the piece pressing down into the clay. Doing it, taking your time, not pressing all the way down to change the shape, going around the sides. Before you pick it up, you can even rub it a little bit, gently. All right, so check the shape out. If you need to press it up or shake it a little bit, do so. This is my heart. And now I'm going to cut a keyhole. So once again, I think the keyhole should be the last thing that I do, but I'm going to, if you know the little hook that you, the hook that you put inside of, that you hang things with sometimes, they have some really, really small ones. I'm gonna show you pretty much what I mean. I'm putting a hole at the top so I can get one of these hooks that kind of look like that. You just screw it down in the top. All right, so what I'm gonna do is the top of my heart, I'm gonna take my needle tool and just go into the center and wobbling the needle tool around so as to open up the hole, because you want to make sure it's open a little bit, because when clay is fired or dry, it shrinks somewhat to allow the moisture, because the moisture is releasing and everything is drying out, it shrinks a little. Okay, you see I have a hole there. I'm going to gently place that down and begin to, I think I need to wipe my hands off a little bit and begin to cut the hole of the piece. All right, so what I'm going to do is make a little circle, probably like in the center. Yeah, that'll be good. I just want to show you the hole first. All right, make a hole in the center. Just kind of come down with elongated type shape. And so I'm going to get my, any type of tool that you think you can use to scoop or dig some of that out. I have this little tool with a narrow edge, one of the Kimberlie tools. I'm scooping portions of that clay out of that keyhole, going around in a circle. And this digging, cleaning some of this out will allow air to get in this piece. If it's fairly, this piece for me is fairly thick, and it'll allow it to breathe so that it does not burst in the kiln. Burst or bust. Scooping out just a bit more. And I think what I'm going to do now is just take the end of the Pro tool to press it down neat in the inside and circle it around to smooth the sides and the bottom and the edges. Whatever you can. If that's too wide, you can use a brush, a smaller brush or something. And the next thing I'm going to do, I don't know if I have a brush right here, but I'm going to take I wish I had a smaller brush. I don't have it right here, but I'm going to use this brush and just gently go in the inside to smooth that out. The reason why I wanted a smaller brush so it wouldn't touch the top of the heart where my design is. So just to make that look a little bit more interesting, looks like I want to cut 2 more little pieces out. Sorry if my voice went low. I was saying that I just wanted to cut 2 more little pieces out to make it a little bit look a bit more interesting. As you are working, if you feel like something can be improved or better, just go ahead and do it. All right, so this is my keyhole. I can take my heart now. But since I'm going to clean up after my work, I want to go ahead and get a piece of newspaper so that I can transfer my key and my heart to the paper. I wanted to use that piece of clay just for a design aesthetic. Here's my newspaper. I'm putting the heart there. And I think I'll go around the key one time on the cloth so that the cloth can soak up some of that water rather than messing up my newspaper. Start just smoothing that out a bit. Cleaning up as I go. I'm gonna turn this around the opposite way. All right, so don't forget that this heart is going to be a hanging piece. Mine's going to hang. So I have to also add a hole in the key. I'm going to lie it on the paper first. Bring it a little closer so that I can shape it up around the edge with the spatula. I have to clean my spatula off first. Now I'm just going around my edge just to shape it up. If yours is too soft, you're more than welcome to wait until it leathers a little more. Okay, so that same tool, I want to put a little design on this heart to mimic the heart that my love won't have. This is just kind of like speaking in the terms of what the piece symbolizes or means, because I'm not actually giving it to nobody. My piece is anyone. My piece is going to be a hanging piece. And I'm putting that same design on the other side. I didn't think of that before. I just thought about that as I was creating. I'm going to put like a line design on my key. It's sort of like what I see on the keys itself. And I'm going to wait just a few minutes to let that dry before I put the hole in the heart of the key to be able to be hung. All right, so I'm going to grab this scrap piece of clay that I had from when I rolled out when I cut out the key, and I'm just going to cut a strip . I'm going to cut a strip, but swerve my tool back and forth a little. I'm going to press that out really thin with my fingers. And all I'm going to do is, first, it feels a little dry. I want to lie it down and spread once. So while I'm doing that, I can press a large piece of this out. I want to cut about 4 little leaves. Again, I'm still designing my heart. It looks like I can even add something else that, I don't know. I just feel like I want to add that to make it more beautiful. I'm making 4 tiny or baby or small leaves. As you can see, looks like an eye, the shape of the outer part of an eye. And I'm going to press some more clay out to make those other 2. One leaf, 2 leaves, and then I have 4. All right, so after that, I don't need any more of that clay. I have 4 little leaves and my strip that I pressed out. And all I'm going to do is roll this strip into like a flower bud, or a bud for a flower, so to speak. Okay, I'm going to pinch the bottom and pinch some of that excess clay off to make it hold and tight. All right, so I'm going to make one more and maybe actually make two more in case something happens to one of them, so I can be prepared. I sprayed that clay a bit so to give it moisture. My key is leathering. By the time I finish with these two flowers or roses, they will be, the key will be ready to be the hole put in my key. All right, so once again, I'm going to roll this loose, roll, just trying to create a little petal, rolling as I go, looking at it. All right, I like that right there. I just want to fold that piece back. And I'm going to make one more just to have enough in case something goes wrong in my eyes. All right, pressing that piece, and we're going to roll the last one. I'm rolling it tight at the bottom without touching the top, and that's what's making the top stay loose. Rolling or keeping my fingers toward the bottom. I think that's good enough. All right, so we can move all this excess clay to the side. I have my third petal. What I'm going to do is squeeze that into a cone at the end just to get all these rows or levels stuck together and tight. Moving my other parts to the side, pulling this forward. I'm going to place or scratch or score where I want the 3 roses to lie or sit. All right, so now I'm just spraying where those areas are to create some slip. Before I put my roses down, I want to press the leaves out. Put both of the leaves diagonally across from each other. Maybe have one flat. You can have the tips up. I'm going to make a small indentation with the back of my brush so that the rose can sit more downward into the piece. And that's attached and applied. I don't have to do anything else to it if I don't want to, or maybe I can brush it later. I'm adding my other leaves to the other side, making a little hole, pressing the cone at the bottom of the rose bud, spraying a little water for slip and glue, putting that down inside that area. And even though since I made this third rose, I'm going to go ahead and use it. All right, I changed my mind. So from there, I made like 3 impressions. I'm just going to go ahead and put that design back right there. And now it's time to make the hole for the key. We already made the hole at the top of the heart. Be careful when you make the hole for the key that you're not too close to where the split is, because you don't want this to split the heart. And this is our demo for today. I guess I would call it the key to my heart project. So this is how that looks. This is how the key looks.
Where are you going to hang the key?
Well, so this is one thing I wanted to say. I'm gonna make something like maybe this thin, like this, the width or shape, and maybe have it curved like this with 2 holes in it so that I can hang it where one is kind of like high and one is low. Not one, the actual one. So I'll draw that so it can look better, or so I can explain it better. Let me move this out the way. All right, fold this out the way. And it's gonna be a hole here, here. And I'm going to have maybe the key hanging like so. And then the heart hanging like this. So the reason why I have, in my mind, the reason why I have my key higher than the heart, because it helps with my story. The person has the key to my heart, but even if somebody wanted the key to my heart, it's like they got to jump higher to get it. You got to do some work. It ain't just coming free. So I wouldn't have the key so low. Or maybe the key could be low and you have to be able to get to the heart I think my explanation would be more better this way, because if I'm giving someone the key to my heart, that means they already did what they were supposed to do to have my attention and love. So yeah, if that made sense to anybody. Okay, so was anybody interested in making that piece today? You think you might want to make something like that or incorporate something that deals with Black History Month into that piece? Was it interesting? It was actually a piece that I just came up with, something to honor love for Valentine's Day. So that's why I was suggesting that you can possibly do something else really creative to share with me or the class, to just show what you brought out of your creativity. Like I was saying, you could possibly make earrings, a brooch, a charm, a wind chime, some kind of hanger. You can make a pot and put it on it. I don't know, it's all sorts of things you can do. So go for it. Anybody have any questions or any suggestions, statements? Anybody? All right. So we have for our I just wanted to say thank you for joining me for Pottery. My name is Kimberlie Wright.